With the presidential election basically at a standstill and completely deadlocked, how do we get Donald Trump over the finish line and show how he can really win this debate against Kamala Harris? Well, first and foremost, let's just agree on the facts. Donald Trump is winning on the vast majority of the issues with some very key weaknesses. He has to address these, and he has to actually deliver on messaging to succinctly make the people that are undecided still at this late juncture in September to really make sure that they actually come out and vote for him over Kamala. Step one, the economic message. That is the number one issue, no matter who you ask, whatever website you want to Google right now. The economy is the biggest issue. It wasn't really the case in the year 2000. It was not really the case in 2004. It is the case now. Now, believe it or not, there are many statistics that are really on the side of Donald Trump versus Biden-Harris, which is another thing entirely, by the way, is can Donald Trump effectively message and rhetorically prove that Kamala Harris is not only responsible for the past 3.5 years of suffering and tremendous outpouring of discontent by the American people, namely the middle class, or will he fail to do that? And even on top of that, can he ideally also somewhat prophesize rhetorically how Kamala Harris, even if not responsible for what's happening now, is not going to fix anything going forward in the next 4 years if elected? These are all the things he needs to address in that respect, but let's move on to the numbers. So again, Donald Trump has good rates when it comes to mortgages. Again, huge deal for millennial voters, people that might be voting for the first time in their late 20s. They're complaining about mortgage rates. 2.77% as a rate under Donald Trump, whereas under Biden-Harris, it's 7.75, a tremendous difference for anybody in the middle class. Personal savings were up massively under Trump, whereas with Harris-Biden, they've been depleted. Okay, common sense. Credit card delinquency. Well, how late are people on their credit card statements? Negative 11% growth in that respect for Trump. Biden-Harris up 50%. That's a negative, gruesome prospect. Can Trump articulate this in the debate, though? Now, real weekly wages. So very personable factoid. 8.2% up under Trump's administration and negative 3.9% growth in the Biden-Harris administration. Again, these are all things that Trump can matter-of-factually point out, and Harris will not have a response aside from obfuscating and maybe cackling. Now, what is the rebuttal? There's some attacks by the Kamala Harris campaign that may or may not stick depending on the audience. Here's the truth of it. Donald Trump is winning on the economy by a factor of 11 to 15 percentage points head-to-head against Kamala, which is fantastic. But what's also important, though, as a weakness for Donald Trump, is that he needs to be able to rhetorically redress this problem. He has proposed increasing tariffs by 10% across the board generally, and then 60% on China, which mathematically is a big number, of course. And so Kamala Harris has been taking the liberty of twisting the truth and saying it's a national sales tax, which is a very fallacious argument to make. And it's a lying one too. But even beyond this, there are some facts that do point to her being somewhat right on some of these things. So, for example, the proposed Trump tariffs, by any means, when you Google search it, it will lower GDP, capital stocks, pre-tax wages, and people would lose jobs over the span of several years. Now, do I agree with these numbers? Not really. But again, we're talking about what the perception is. This is politics, boutique, really. Boutique politics. You need to have a perception, and sometimes that trumps the reality, ironically, okay? You know, you got to think about the prism of which we're living in today, where we have Trump who is bombastic, but also appealing and revolting to different people. Trump needs to be able to kind of bridge this gap as he needs to reach into the purple side of the aisle. He needs to actually reach towards the middle and appeal to those types and make sure they vote for him over Kamala, not because they like him, but just because he makes more sense. And so, yes, he does have all the numbers I just showed you when it comes to these sort of facts. But when it comes down to some things like the tariff, he needs to be able to rebut these. Kamala Harris is saying right now that Donald Trump will increase the median household spending by $4,000. Like, he's going to increase your taxes through tariffs by $4,000. That's a horrible thing to say if it were actually true. And it generally isn't. She's highly highballing this estimation. And in fact, it seems as if the tariff is like a way to actually make profit for America if you look at it one way. And so it's definitely up to Trump to defend against that. Now, let's address how Kamala Harris is being purported to be planning her attacks in this debate and how her general narrative will be portrayed. So recently, she's been spending several days preparing for this upcoming foray into public speaking that she's been reluctant to really participate in the past several weeks. But she's been debating against Trump impersonators, everything. And so she is trying to become prepared for this. Now, there is one main way that Trump could screw this up. Look at this headline by NBC News. Keep calm and get under his skin. How Harris is preparing for her first Trump debate. So think about this. She's trying to get under his skin. Well, what does that mean? Well, people, even liberals, now they're in the closet about it. They won't say it in the media, but they know in their heart of hearts that they're losing on the economy, on immigration, on foreign policy, the works really. Well, what that means for Kamala is that she needs to divert and obfuscate and in fact just try to piss Trump off, kind of like how Trump let Biden rhetorically tie a knot around his neck. You just got to let him screw himself over and not look like a bully when you're letting him prove that he has dementia. Well, Kamala is trying to do that with Trump insofar as like, oh, he's such a chauvinist, he's such a jerk. She's trying to let him kind of do himself in this election. And so what Trump needs to do is not let his ego be bruised or just pretend like it isn't hurting him. Such things like, I'm speaking, sir. Oh my God, you're such a, these sort of things cannot make him crazy. It cannot make him crazy. So let's look into the Kamala Harris playbook. Just take a sneak peek. Now, if you notice, look at this blurb right here. It's less about substance in this debate and more about showcasing Harris as a woman who is not scared and isn't going to cower and who's actually standing up to Trump and holding him accountable. You see this? You see this? Vibes, joy, they say, for this campaign. Now, did that work at the convention? Did they get a bounce in the polls? No, they did not. In fact, the sugar high and the honeymoon has been nothing but sour ever since that ended a few weeks ago, frankly. And so what that really means for us who are looking to vote in this election is that she's losing momentum. Kamala needs to build it back up. And the truth is that she's going to try to do so by engendering a sense of, oh my God, girl boss. Yes, suburban moms. Yeah, Trump is he's like your ex-husband. That's the angle here. Trump cannot play into this. Now that we know the gist of what the vibe will be at the debate, that it's going to be her trying to needle Trump and trying to provoke something crazy to happen, let's take a peer through her platform that's been curated over 50 days and see what kind of stuff they snuck in at the last minute. I mean, literally the day before the debate. What is their platform containing? Now, these are all blue affirmative causes to vote for Harris. Again, like, oh, I'm going to cut taxes, whatever. These are all blue Democrat talking points. And what are the anti-Trump things? Well, look at this. Trump's Project 2025 agenda. You go here, Trump 2025, Trump Project 2025, Trump Project 2025 agenda. Now, I only bring this up to show you that Kamala Harris is not attacking virtually any of Trump's proposals. Now, look at how much of an easy scenario Trump has in this debate, frankly, when you look at the facts. Imagine having a political debate where you're not even attacking the other person's positions because you have a straw man that you think is better that isn't actually real, right? Imagine. It's so asinine to me. Again, these people hate Donald Trump with such a passion, yet they can't actually roast his ideas of cutting taxes or anything like pay child leave, anything like that, anything on Agenda 47, which is the official Trump campaign platform, by the way, the 20 proposals there. She's not attacking a single one. She's not even attacking building a border wall to send the Mexicans out. She's not even doing that. That's how the Overton window has shifted. In fact, now the dialogue is about a propaganda tool like Project 25, where they're going to say, well, according to people that like you, that you haphazardly worked with like a year ago, they're going to do X and Y according to a policy book with 900 pages. And we're going to cherry pick the 4 things that are polling badly. And then Trump, he has to defeat this narrative. People like Democrats, obviously in their heart of hearts, know that Trump is actually right about the issues low key. And so they're going to say, oh, it's Project 2025. And guess what, folks? Trump has to rebut this. How is he going to do it? It's got to be somewhat eloquent. I like Donald Trump. Obviously, I got his flag right here. But the truth is that he's got to do better than the stand back and stand by or, the whole Proud Boys thing. Or the Charlottesville gaffe. He needs to hammer this down. Say, I have nothing to do with these people, X, Y, and Z, and convince people. Be thorough. If you're lying, at least be confident when you're lying. Pull a Bill Clinton. Do what you need to do. I did not inhale. I did not hire so-and-so. Just do it. Just do it. All right, guys. So I came with a lot of rhetoric, but as we're nearing the end of the video, like if you've gotten this far and subscribe if you haven't yet, let's look over some of the polling as to the specific things that are going to go down in this debate. If you look at Trump and Harris, they've got several categories, Pew Research does, where they've actually got different attributes and qualities of the candidates and see who's winning on what aspect. And so, for example, when you ask people that are voting, stand up for who or what they believe in, Trump is winning that over Harris by 9. Interesting. Why? Because if you're perceived as being more of higher integrity and that you stand up by what you believe in or whatever, stand up for it, then if you're right on the issues like Trump is, and the media, or sorry, the perception is generally also congruent with that, then having an advantage there is proving that you're actually more resolute into fixing the problems that are important to people versus Harris, who seems like she's flip-flopping. Now, look at well-informed. Harris has Trump beat by 3. I promise you, again, this sounds like I'm coping, but this is largely due to the media spinning things like, oh, she's a prosecutor, oh, she's a boss babe, oh, she's a vice president. She knows a lot more than Trump. This is in contrast to Biden, okay? A lot of the things that might make Kamala look good that doesn't logically proceed to people that are Republican like me is that the media has been doing this artificial honeymoon for weeks now. And so when people think she's well-informed, truth is, frankly, that a lot of that support is just tepid, saying like, oh, I'm just going to give her the benefit of the doubt because they hate Trump. If she flounders in the debate to any modicum of a degree, that's certainly going to go down and Trump will become the well-informed person in turn. Now, have a good sense of humor by Harris by 6. Again, that doesn't really matter. Cares about the needs of ordinary people. Harris by 7. Now, again, be careful, Trump supporters and Donald Trump, if you were to magically hear this in his dream. Look, if you start attacking Harris because, oh, you're low integrity because you lied about X and Y, or you are a scandalous person, you're a bad role model because you got on your knees 40 years ago. Look, truth is that it comes off inappropriate. It's like bringing up certain topics at Thanksgiving. You're probably right about what you're talking about, but you're pissing everybody off. We just want to eat here. So let's go back to talking about food prices, which are on the subject, that are on the table, not off the table subjects like Willie Horton or whatever, Willie Brown, you know, these types. You don't need to talk about that, these scandals of Kamala Harris. It hurts Trump. Remember what happened when he talked to those black journalists and he made a pretty valid point about how Kamala's opportunistic about her racial identity? Well, it went the wrong way with the suburban wine moms, all those sort of things. I get it. It's lame to kind of be, very stepping on eggshells. But if you really care about winning the election, you've got to do it. So people, if Kamala screws herself over, then frankly, people will know that she's low integrity. She's all this. And so Trump needs to not play into the archetype of like, he's a bully. Oh my God, don't do it. Honest. Harris is winning honesty by 8 over Trump. Now, keep in mind, this is, again, due to media influence biases, okay? And if Trump's winning any of these, it's despite the media coverage, as it's at least 2/3 liberal. Now, keep this noted. Honesty will look worse after the debate happens and people poll, is Kamala honest? She's going to look really bad. Because if Trump is good at all at debating, he will bring up, okay, you're contradicting yourself on X, Y, and Z from the past 5 years. So how do you square that? And then Kamala would have to come up with the cope for it. And I can promise you she'll be prepared for a lot of it. But can you really, study for a 90-minute debate and have everything factored in? Have every possibility mapped out? You probably won't. And so for that reason, honesty will go down as an attribute for Harris in the positive column, as it'll be clear that, kind of like John Kerry, but worse, she's been a Bernie bro kind of type of socialist Democrat from California as of the past 10 years. And then all of a sudden she gets picked for vice president and she kind of shuts it down. But what's wrong with that? Why were you anti-fracking 5 years ago and why are you okay with it now? What changed? What changed? What happened with not building the border wall? Oh, okay, now you want to build part of it, but why? Oh, because immigration's bad. Okay, but who was the border czar? Again, Trump needs to be on the case. Do not go into tangents. And this kind of plays into another weakness of Trump, is the age aspect. Kamala Harris is pushing 60, Trump is pushing 80. Do I think Trump has any cognitive issues with being older? No. But is it something you need to be worried about? Kind of. Especially people that don't give Trump the benefit of the doubt. It's certainly something he needs to take that matter into account. Think about it. Tom Brady For years, in his late 30s, early 40s with the New England Patriots, elite quarterback. But year after year, people said, and reasonably so, they said, he's 39, he might be falling off. Now, he didn't until he was 45. But truth is that it was still a valid concern. So to be kind of like an a-hole about it is not going to appeal to people. So Trump needs to actually be amiable and alive. When when Reagan was attacked by Mondale in 1984 over his age, he flipped it on him with wit and charisma in a way that was loving. And it sounds super cringe to say it that way, but in a way that was not salty. I will refuse to use my opponent's youth and inexperience as a point against him, was something that Reagan said, something along those lines. And that was genius. Trump needs one of those if Harris tries to attack him with that silo. Now, mentally sharp, Harris is winning by 9. We'll see how that holds up. I doubt that Harris will be up 9 after the debate. Down to earth, Harris winning by 13. Maybe. I guess she's not as rich as Trump was. I don't know. A good role model, Harris winning by 19. Again, do not go in the comment section of this video and be like, oh, but she slept her way to the top. Okay, you can't bring that up in a debate. You just can't. It's just, it's a bad look. It's a bad look. That's the bottom line. I could agree. She is an opportunist. She's super untalented given how high she is in politics and how much she wants to climb the ladder even more so. That being said, you just can't bring it up. Like with Pete Buttigieg, do a lot of people find him creepy? And is he kind of like this nerdy, like twink, whatever? But can you actually use those words in a presidential debate? No, of course not. It's like, okay. So let's just try to stay cognizant of this. Now, even tempered, Harris has Trump beat by 32. If there's a kill shot against Trump, it's this. Even keeled and, good tempered. Trump needs to keep his head cool for this. Silent killer, be ready to use all the facts that are on your side against the defendant, which is Harris. Ironically, Trump needs to flip the role. He needs to be the prosecutor against the quasi-incumbent candidate in Kamala Harris, and she needs to be that incompetent, stupid defendant that's about to rot in prison because her public defender, aka Joe Biden, has been screwing her over when it comes to leading this country because he's done a horrible job at it, in fact. And so she's really at the mercy of Trump. It is Trump's failure to capitalize on this that could ever result in a Harris W in this debate. You could say, oh, it's ABC News, or it's like, oh, it's a liberal moderation team. And I can believe all that. But the facts are on your side. When it comes to the economy, immigration, almost everything is pro-Trump in this election minus abortion. So as a quick aside, we need to make sure that when we're thinking about how to conduct this debate from the position of Donald Trump, you have to think about Joe Sixpack, the person that voted for Trump in 2016 unexpectedly and somewhat voted for Biden in 2020. How do you get those people back? Because if you do, you win the election, obviously. How do you do it? It's not by saying Kamala's the worst. If she's the worst, people will tell. It's about building yourself up, but also using the facts. You think the economy sucks? I'm with you. In fact, 4 years ago, it was better. You think the border sucks now? Well, guess what? When I was president, we were building the wall and we're going to get back at it. All these sort of things, hammer them down. It's as simple as when James Carville popularized the phrase, "It's the economy, stupid," for the 1992 victory of Bill Clinton. Okay, it's that simple. Let's not complicate it. Let's not make it personal. People hate Donald Trump. Well, guess what? You need some of those people that hate Trump to still hold their nose and vote for the guy who's going to fix the country. We don't need any sort of abstractions or any sort of like, okay, well, Kamala, let's litigate tampon Tim. Nobody cares, bro. Get to the brass tacks. So as we're wrapping up the video, let's just display a picture of what you want the median voter to look at this debate being, okay? It is a economy that is not working for most people. In fact, about 3/4 are unsatisfied with it. We have record mortgage rates increasing. We have solutions by an incumbent administration that is not working for anyone. And the proposals that are posited by Kamala Harris will not fix anybody's problems, but in fact make them even worse. This is the sort of thing that Trump needs to do. He cannot show pictures of, housing bubbles and mortgage crises, but he needs to be able with words to paint exactly what kind of world of pain we're in if we try to re-elect a Democrat administration for a second time in a row. It's got to end here. Trump needs to get across this message that he posted on his Twitter as an advertisement, and I love it. The messaging is key here. Kamala Harris is weak. Exactly. Again, weak. Joe Sixpack, person in Pennsylvania, white working class voters that Trump lost in Wisconsin. Kamala is weak. It's not, I'm so great, I'm going to have, no. It's about the other person sucks even worse. Now, Kamala's weak. You look at the next one. Kamala is failed. Again, failed. Why? Because she rode shotgun to a Thelma and Louise sort of like driving into the Grand Canyon type thing, where Joe Biden is willy-nilly just driving the country into chaos economically. And so she's failed. And Kamala Harris is dangerously liberal. She has some differences from Biden. She does not have dementia like Biden, but she has even worse policies than Biden. And you already hate how it is now. And Trump can compare and contrast a literal America that was less than 5 years ago, that was much better off than is Kamala Harris and Biden today. That's as simple as it gets.